Rabbi Shalom and his wife Odea came to Perth 16 years ago from Israel to continue the work of the previous Chabad rabbis there. Together with their 7 children, they support the Jewish community in Western Australia and make sure that Jews in the most isolated city do not feel isolated. From teaching Aleph Beth to small children, lecturing to academics, performing weddings, brisses and funerals, Chabad Western Australia lights one soul at a time. Rabbi White, welcome. Now, can I ask you, you live in the most remote city in the world. I thought it was one of, but I've been told, no, it's actually the most technically remote city in the world. How did your family accept that when you moved there?
Thank you, Tali. Very funny that my family, or more correctly, my wife's family, didn't accept it too well. After I first meeting my wife and we were about to get engaged, so I had the very scary meeting that I met my father-in-law. And the first thing he said to me, he says, Shalom, I know that you're from Australia. If you're going to marry my daughter, you're not moving to Australia. It's too far away. To put it into perspective, my father-in-law goes and visits his mother every single day. All right, there's not a day that he doesn't go and have a cup of tea with her. And it's a very, very close family. And after getting married a year later, with our newly born daughter, we moved to Perth. In the beginning, I told him that it's only for a year, but of course, we know that nothing is really for a year, and we ended up staying here for quite long. My father-in-law, once he had to give a speech at one of the dinners in Israel for Chabad, for Israel, and he said that he's given to Chabad, he's given to the Rebbe the most important things in his life. His 2 daughters. He has a daughter that's in Austria, and of course my wife Odea, that she's in Australia. And Australia being 30 hours flight from where they live is something which is quite difficult for him. But there's a very interesting story which took place in relation to Perth in that regard. Sadly, my father-in-law had a very bad lung problem in which he needed a lung transplant. And he needed to go around with an oxygen box. His life was very limited. And the doctor said that he needs to get a transplant very, very quickly. So we were looking into different places. The doctors here helped me look into Australia. And it was planned that he was going to go to India to be able to get this transplant just after Pesach. So this is going back a few years, 5 years. And surprisingly, just before Pesach, it was on the Rebbe's birthday, my wife receives a phone call from a father that they found a donor in Israel and he's on the way to receive the transplant. So of course we barely slept that night. We said Tehillim and everything else. And thank God the transplant went. The next morning I was sitting in my office getting ready for Pesach and I received a phone call. One of the gentlemen that live here in Perth, he called me up and he said that last night my mother passed away and he's not able to go to the funeral, so he feels very far, and whether we'll be able to do prayers at the synagogue. So of course I said yes. Spoke to him for a little bit and I put down the phone. I called up my wife and I said, it's crazy, but I think we found the donor. The donor for your father is Josh Joseph's mother. She said, Shalom, you're crazy. I said, this evening I'm going to ask him and we're going to find out. That night in prayers, I asked him, I said, would by any chance of your mother being an organ donor? And he said she was, but he doesn't think that they were able to take anything because she was very, very old. She was 10 years older than my father-in-law. And I said, do me a favor. Ask your brother in Israel whether they were able to take anything. He comes in the morning and he says that 3 people's lives were saved. Someone was able to utilize the liver and 2 people were able to receive the lungs. And so I said to him, I said, I think your mother gave my father-in-law one of those lungs. To which he said, he also thought you're crazy. We went and asked through the hospital, and they told us that they're not allowed to tell us any information, but there was only one transplant which took place that entire week, which ultimately means that his mother saved my father-in-law's life. And so at that moment, he felt unbelievably connected, because he realized that even though he lost his mother, but someone that's very close to him, his rabbi, he was able to be part in our life and to be able to continue life and to save someone's life, another two people as well, but in particular, someone so close to him. My father-in-law, afterwards, he was on the radio when he finally came out of the hospital, and they interviewed him about the story. And he said that it's in merit that my children went so far that in Perth, my son-in-law is the rabbi of the son of the donor that was able to save my life. And with this, we see unbelievable hashgacha pratis of being able to come and connect from the most remote city in the world, Perth, that there should be a rabbi and a congregant, that their parents have some unbelievable connection of a continuation of life, which is something which is quite amazing. And so we may think we're living in somewhere which is remote. They say that the world is quite big, but Hashem is a lot bigger, and Hashem comes and makes sure that we're all together and we're all united. There are a million other stories which we could share, but for that you're going to have to come to our Shabbos table to hear them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope, Rabbi White, we can come to your Shabbos table soon. But thank you. I have complete goosebumps from that story. And thank you for reminding us that no matter where we go, no matter how isolated or how far we are, Jews are connected in all the most remote places. We're always connected. So thank you.